about 8 to 10 years ago. Its evolution was pretty sweet in terms of I didn't know where it was headed. I didn't have a plan to it. I just looked at quarterbacks not making great decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and I would watch their game films consistently, and they would make decisions that I think we would all question. And so anyway, I started these concepts. I started making them say, because they would look into defenses, look too long at certain routes, and it just didn't make sense. So I eventually just told them, I said, you can't throw this and that. So why did you even, pre-snap? You should have known that. So anyway, next thing you know is this pre-snap mantra used to happen. Identify the defense. You got a DID going on. And then once you did that, you'd sit there and understand, okay, what's the concept saying a cover 2? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, of my route package, what do I have that's of that? Mm-hmm. And it's going to situationally be smart. So anyway, over the past, 10 years, really, it's evolved to where it's come. And it became a book. I've written, I think, 4 books now. I've written 4 books, and the QBIQ being one of them. And we made it where it works, coherently with people's playbooks. So that's been super beneficial for teams to take advantage of. But anyway, that's essentially where it came from, just watching game film and just telling kids, why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
And guys that are just tuned in now, we have Coach Chris Hixson here. We're going to be talking a little bit about the QBIQ system. We're going to let the room fill up a little bit as we do some things in the back end. We're going to get started in about 55 seconds.
All right. Hey, just giving to all my social media guys, we're sitting here doing a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation with the guys at vIQtory. If you go to YouTube, you can watch it live and actually see the presentation. You're not going to be able to see the PowerPoint presentation because it's on my computer and it's going to be through their system. So go to their YouTube channel. That's vIQtory Sports, and that's spelled with an IQ. That's vIQtory Sports. They're in the and by the way, I've got practice going on right now, so you could hear some interruption. So anyway, yes, they're in the bag. Bungees, and that would be off of the wall. So anyway, so go to vIQtory Sports. That's vIQtory, vIQtory, Sports at YouTube. And by the way, we're going to disconnect this here in a little bit. So you guys better tune in at YouTube.
All righty.
Hey, so I think that's so cool that you play for Coach Shaw. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. We've worked on some of the QBIQ stuff when he came back with it.
That's awesome.
What did you guys do? That was like in January, around there.
Yeah, I think it sounds right. AFCA was about January. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I came back to school, he had all that stuff. So we did a little with it and everything. Yeah, I like it a lot.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate you.
All right, perfect. So, Coach, we're going to get started right about now if you're good to go.
All right, good deal.
All right, perfect. We have Coach Chris Hixson here from the QBIQ, Trent Dilfer's QBIQ system. He's going to be walking us through the system and everything that goes on behind it as well. Coach, just before we dive in here, you have your presentation up on the screen?
It's not on the screen yet. I was going to do a little introduction for it.
Okay, perfect. I was
going to slide into it.
Right before we jump in, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Team Builder. For those who don't know, Team Builder provides strength and conditioning software to more than 500 high school programs nationwide, as well as the NFL. Whether you write your own programs, have a full-time strength coach, or need training programs, Team Builder can make your weight room more efficient, more accountable, and smarter when it comes to measuring your team's progress. So should be right here in the bottom corner, Team Builder. Check those guys out. Big shout out to them for sponsoring this live clinic. So now, Coach, the floor is yours to do whatever you need to do.
Appreciate you, brother. Hey, real quick, I'm going to tell everybody, all the people in my land, my social media land, what to do. Hey, guys, one more time. This presentation is live at YouTube, vIQtory Sports, the YouTube channel for vIQtory Sports. You got to spell vIQtory, vIQtory, Sports. We'll see you at YouTube. And we'll be shutting it down here in a little bit. So you won't be able to see, but if you want to see, it's right here. All right, so here we go. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate vIQtory for having me on. and let everybody know a little bit about Trent Dilfer's QBIQ. And we're very proud to be able to say that now, and just gives a great stamp and credibility to what we're doing. Really, it's a pre-snap process, and I believe that through the different teams that we've been able to be involved with already, we're with over 100 teams across the nation, and actually we have some overseas teams as well that utilize our program. The significant difference in clarity that it gives the quarterback, the wide receivers, the offensive coordinator for play calling, the things that it does for the team, and how smoothly your offense can run. And I'll give you a quote that Trent likes to say, and we're not sure who came up with it, either me or him, but it pours gasoline all over your offense, because the clarity, if you own the pre-snap game, you're going to pretty much own the game, because you've already made a lot of the necessary decisions before the snap. And so as we go into this, you're going to learn real quick about how it came about. All right, so here we go. Guys, again, I'm going to give a warning to everybody. I'm here at practice. I got practice going on out here. So you're going to hear some noise, but at the same time, let's stay locked in and try to learn a little bit. Appreciate you guys being on. All right, so here we go. Let me learn how to do some IT here real quick and share some screens. There we go.
Perfect.
Are we on?
We are on. Yep, you're sharing the screen.
All right,
Perfect.
let me learn a little more on how to click.
And then, Coach, that hide button at the bottom there, right next to stop, if you want to just hit a hide, perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, put you back on there. Let me get there. All right, here we go. All right, guys, so here's Trent Dilfer's QBIQ, the pre-snap reading system, the number one. Forgot the most important part. The number one pre-snap reading system in the country, really in the industry of football. And we're excited to bring it to you and tell you guys a little bit about how it's going to change the game from not just a pre-snap reading system, but an all-out knowledge base of how we approach the game. All right, so today what I'm going to cover is basically 3 points. I'm going to cover number one, which is what is the difference between Fridays and Sundays? What is that difference between Fridays and Sundays? Then that's going to slide right into number two, which is going to be how QBIQ works with the grain of defense. When you think about it, they make all our decisions for us. They're our number one MVP. You got to organically work with them, because they're going to tell us who to throw to. So we got to work. We want to learn what are the concepts that work great with the grain of defense. And then number three, we're going to talk about how QBIQ trains and works with your playbook. And because that's number one, you got to know your playbook. If you don't know that, you can't play quarterback. You can't play any position, and you shouldn't be an offense coordinator. So obviously we talk about how QBIQ trains your playbook. All right. So going into this important point number one, okay, what is the difference between Fridays and Sundays? And if I were to ask anybody out there, what would I would say, hey, if you had to name historically the four best quarterbacks in NFL history, who would they be? And a lot of guys would sit there and say, hey, Peyton Manning, he's got 71,000 plus yards, 539 touchdowns. He's an amazing quarterback. Obviously, I mean, from a pre-snap mind, because he would change plays left and right before the snap of the ball. I mean, what's he doing? He's obviously seeing something, changing the play to something that's more suitable and situationally effective. So we got to figure out, what is he doing that's so special? By the way, he can't outrun a tree. Now, I want you to note that. He cannot outrun a tree. Now, some guys, some old timers might sit there and say he may have not won one, but man, he was awesome. He led the NFL for a long time with 61,000 plus yards, 420 touchdowns. He was an amazing quarterback, never got sacked. He was slower than a rock, and everybody understands that. All right, this is arguably one of the best quarterbacks ever in the history of the NFL. He went to the Super Bowl 4 times, came back with 4 Super Bowl rings. He's 100%. I know the Northeastern guys. I get it. Peyton, you got Joe Montana, but he's 100%. So there's an argument there, right? But he's got 273 touchdowns, and he was actually the most effective runner of the guys we're talking about. But while he threw for 40,000 yards, he only rushed for about 2,400 yards. Okay, so that's a notable note there. He only rushed for about 2,400 yards, and he's the highest rusher of the guys we're talking about. Now, obviously, if you want to talk about one guy, I know you're saying he's got hairy arms. His name's Tom Brady. He's got 70,000 plus yards currently, still working on it, 517 touchdowns. I don't know how many fingers he has to grow for all the Super Bowls he's going to be winning. But the bottom line is this guy is awesome. But again, not an athletic dude. So, I mean, we're sitting here kind of going towards something. By the way, he just became a 1,000-yard rusher. And when we look at all these four guys, they rush for about 4,000 yards total. And they have thrown currently for about 250,000 yards. So 4,000 rushing, 250,000 yards passing, and they're potentially, you could easily say these are the best in the NFL historically. All right, so that means something. So let's take note of that. With that being said, you could say that these guys are the best tandem ever in terms of timing, the best ever. So what did this guy say, Jerry Rice, say about Joe Montana, about this guy? He said what made Joe the best was he knew where he was throwing the ball 98% of the time before the snap. So let's talk about this. I'm not talking about hitches, guys. I'm not talking about fades, basic routes. I'm talking about full concept routes where he knew where he was throwing the ball 98% of the time before the snap. So there is information being used before the snap. And if you can win the pre-snap game, then you're going to be in a special position. So I think we just answered, what is the main difference between Fridays and Sundays? It's anticipation. Bottom line is, it is anticipation. There's 50 guys plus that come out of college every year that are physically talented enough to play quarterback at the NFL level. Do you know what the difference is? They're stuck on Fridays and Saturdays mode, and they're not into enough knowledge base to have great anticipation. So again, it is anticipation that's the difference maker. What are Saturdays and Friday guys using? So this is basically high schools and college. They use a progression-oriented offense, meaning they're going through progression. That is not what NFL guys are doing. They are not sitting there saying, check 1, check 2, check 3, check 4. They are going to the line of scrimmage, recognizing what they see, and then saying, this works, this doesn't, and it's situationally appropriate or not. So the next question now is how to build anticipation. Well, the answer to that is use a simplified process that advances your pre-snap understanding. Know what works before the snap of the ball. Easily said, right? Know what works before the snap of the ball. I mean, I think we all can admit anybody can be Superman. Who cares how athletically gifted you are if you got tomorrow's newspaper today? All right, so that's going to lead us to important point number 2, what works with the grain of defense? All right, so this is building that anticipation, applying that concept build. So whenever we talk about concept build, we sit there and we got to have great defensive understanding. You got to build that anticipation. Again, key word like Pee Wee's Playhouse. You got your word of the day. The word of the day today is anticipation. And how do you build that? Well, we got to understand what our opponent's goals are. That's number 1. Number 2 is we've got to understand that every defense takes away and gives away routes. Bottom line is there's certain defenses, certain things are just not going to work very well. And there's those same defenses are going to give up other types of routes. So we have to recognize that. So QBIQ is design concepts that the pros understand. So QBIQ is design concepts that the pros understand. So number 4 is what this is going to do for you, the benefit, right? This is going to make the decision-making efficient and highly accurate. Now, I think we can all admit, if you have a quarterback who drops back fast, reads fast, throws fast, and he knew who he was going to pretty much, he had it, simmered down to a couple guys that he knew he was going to, situationally appropriate guys, before he snapped the ball. Well, I think we know we're going to be really considerably better on offense. At the same time, you're going to make your line better because they don't have to block as long. You're going to make the catch easier because it'll be less contested because the DB won't have time to make a play on it. So bottom line is we gotta understand a couple more things about concept build, right? We have to always tell my guys that these are concepts. They're not concrete, right? You could easily have Deion Sanders. We could sit there and say a slant works on cover 1 or cover 3, but Deion Sanders is out there and he's covering one of your guys. All of a sudden, he might lock him down, right? And so if Deion Sanders locks him down, even though we don't discount a pre-snap, but the guy could be out talented and take away something. So we say they're concepts, they're not concrete. So QBIQ concepts are baselines, And when you understand the black and white of the baseline, this makes defensive behavior consistencies or changes. Their behavior, whether it's consistent stuff or their changes, it makes them easy to see. And again, there's concept breakers. I think we got to understand, obviously, if you outside release a cover 2 corner, he turns and burns. And all of a sudden, the 1, the 3, the 5, all the outside routes work now. So if you outside release the corner, then your outside stuff can work on cover 2. So anyway, there's concept breakers. All right, with that being said, we got to understand a little more deeper into the defense and the zones they like to cover, but also the areas that we can affect, afflict the defense with pain. And we got to highlight those as well. So we got to we must know what hurts each defense. Stop throwing blind and stop throwing late. And this provides both of those. Clarity in the eyes, being ahead of the game, and let the game slow down. That's what this does. This is the most important page in the book right here. This is the most important page of the book. So hold the press, stop everything. This is the keys to how the system works. So cover 2, 2, 4, 6, 7, bang 9. Those are the routes that work. Cover 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bang 8, bang 9 on the hash. Cover 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Cover 6 to the field is 4. So you got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Cover 6 to the boundary is 2. So you got 2, 4, 6, 7, bang 9. Cover 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, not 8, but you can throw a 9. You got to throw it quick, though, because they're bringing an extra rusher. And then cover 0, you got everything works quick, but you got to get it out again, like I said, quick, because they're bringing an extra couple guys. All right, guys, so that's the most important page in the book. All right, here's a little example of the guys using the flashcards. This is a fun little example of how we make it competitive. And we like guys to learn the system and become very quick with their reactions. Because you got push-ups right here in push-up row. 3rd and 8.
Yes, quick.
Yep, you got it. 2nd one plus 48.
Yes. No, yes.
3rd and 8.
Yes.
1, 0.
Yes. No, yes.
Correct. 2nd and 12 plus 30.
Yes. Yes.
2nd and 12 plus 30.
Change it to.
Boom. 1, 0. All right, so you guys got a little taste of how the flashcard system works. That was actually level 2. That goes up to level 4. Level 1 is just purely route versus defense. Level 2, which they were on, which is situational card, route versus defense. All right, so here we go. Moving on. Defensive recognition. You've got to be able to recognize defenses. Especially if you want to hold up that trophy, you got to see and recognize defenses. And there's probably not anybody more noted than Peyton Manning to change plays before the snap of the ball. And so that's why we love giving examples of Peyton Manning. So if you can do this and recognize defenses, you're going to make unbelievably fast decisions. You're going to be able to audible to the best situation, and you're going to be able to create great anticipation that is so rare. Create great anticipation that is so rare. You must learn to recognize defenses pre-snap. And again, we said that key word, anticipation. Create great anticipation that is so rare if you can recognize defenses. All right. So one of the things that we need to understand, the defense doesn't have a bunch of rules. It's not like they have to have a certain amount of guys on the line. They can be moving before the snap. You know, the bottom line is these guys, they don't have many rules, but they got 2 rules they got to pay attention to. And if we know these 2 rules and we know how the defense looks, we can use these 2 rules against them. Number 1 is the defense must be balanced to the offense by the snap of the ball. They got to be balanced to the offense by the snap of the ball. Number 2 is the defense will be within inches of their post-snap responsibility by the snap of the ball, plus giving away a lot of great body language that we can read. And we like to call those accelerators. Help us accelerate to the result, to our decision. So, these defensive coordinators, they hate getting fired. And if they're out of balance and they're not near their post-snap responsibility, they're going to get fired because they're going to get beat. So And I'll tell you another thing. DBs don't like sitting the bench, so they're going to do what the coach says, who doesn't want to get fired. So they're going to play by these two rules. Now, if that's true, check out the notes. They show their cards before the hand is played for you to read. This provides you great anticipation. Back to that key word. So if you know these two rules, you know what the defenses look like, then you can use these two rules against them. Now, the other thing is change the snap count or snap rhythm so that they make them show earlier. So take your easy plays and go quick. Take your hard plays and go longer so you get a great comfort level of what you're looking at. Make sure it's suitable for what you're about to do. All right, guys. See it in red? It says second most important in the book. So hold the press. Check it out. This is the second most important in the book. This is the DID, QBIQ's defensive identification method. This breaks down the process to easy steps. So if I was to read left to right, you got your safeties column, and then you get potential. And then you got your corners read, and then you got your DID. So safeties, if there's a middle safety, they're 12 plus yards with skinny feet. It's either 1 or 3. Then you go to if the corners have 7 to 9 yards and they got skinny feet, inside foot back, looking at offense, well, you know it's cover 3. But if you had that middle safety there with 12 plus yards, skinny feet, and they're in the corners are 6 to 8 yards or press with skinny feet, inside shade, inside foot up, looking at wide receiver, you know it's cover 1. And once you go through this process and you get this process down, you now can actually say, okay, and then what works? Cover 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bang 8, bang 9 on the hash. Or cover 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, quick. And all of a sudden they start applying the rules and they know which of their play package is going to be open.
Coach, do you mind going a little bit of detail with the skinny feet and what exactly you mean by having skinny feet?
Absolutely. Think about a cover 4 safety who has run responsibility. I want everybody, if you feel up to it, feel this and how this works. Stand up and get into a run support type stance, like a linebacker almost. And if you get into that big base and you have the feet big and you're ready to like come up and make a tackle, just tell me how good that feels to backpedal out of that. So that tells me a post-snap responsibility. Their first priority is run support. If they're skinny based, everybody get like you're going to drop back. Get in the skinny base. Do you want to come make a tackle? No, you do not. You want to actually backpedal. So it tells you that's an accelerator for us to get some body language. So that's what tells us about backpedal responsibility or run support first responsibility. Big base to skinny feet.
Makes sense. To add to that point, Coach, I always had a coach that said skinny feet is used to move forward and backwards. Wide base is used to move laterally, similar to how a basketball player widens feet to cover laterally. So just another point, too, on top of your point.
I agree with that. But if you look at the safety play in corners, they're not very often are they going to go sideways.
Yep, exactly.
But linebackers, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to put this on. Hey, and quick question, Chris, can you hear this if I played it with my earphones in?
Yep.
So
if it's the same thing you did before, yeah, we could hear it.
You could hear the beginning of it?
We could hear the music and you playing it, yes.
Okay. All right. Can you hear that?
No, we cannot hear that.
Safeties.
How about that?
Yes.
Yep.
Skinny feet, so that means a drop in. I look at the safety or the corners. I see that their inside foot is back. Their outside shade, inside 5 yards. So they're probably sitting. So I know that's coming too. We're also working 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good job. Quarterback voice. Give it to me. All right, walk up to line of scrimmage, middle safety. So it's 1 or 3, 12 plus yards, skinny feet. So he's dropping. Corners are 7 to 9. Skinny feet, inside foot back. So they're dropping. We're also working 0 through 6, bang 8, bang on the hash.
All right, so what you guys just heard are a couple of guys IDing the defense. One had cover 2, one had cover 3, and they got through it seamless. Now, of course, we want to make sure that when we ID that defense, we don't go through that whole process. All we're doing is we go up and we take a picture. We just got to make sure we understand that process with clarity. And then we can get where we just take a picture. So if I look and I walk down the line of scrimmage and I have no middle safety, it's not 1 or 3. It's got to be 0, 2, 4, 6. Safeties or skinny feet, 12 plus yards. I'm already thinking cover 2. Look at the corners, inside 5, outside shade, inside foot back. I know it's cover 2, and then I apply my concept. So I would never go through that. I would just watch the line of scrimmage. Now that I know all that detail, I would just take a picture and understand. My coach always said that, and just take a picture and go from there. All right, so important point number 3. How QBIQ trains your playbook. So this is how an important point for people to understand QBIQ and how it works organically and perfectly with the playbook. So these are the chapters and how it's set up. The first, I want you to recognize chapter 1 and chapter 7 right now. Chapter 1 is RDR the offense. Now that is a pro approach. It's very close to how I used to train the offense. But this is more formatted. So you read it 5 times, you draw it 5 times, you run it 5 times. It's in the book. So it's actually in the book. So you RDR the offense. Now, chapter 7, you actually RDR verse D. And when you RDR verse D, you're actually going to go through your offense again, and you're going to actually verse it the defense. So when you verse it the defense, you're going to see how many reps you actually get. You're going to get an example of that here shortly. But I want you to understand that this program is bookended by the offense. The most important thing is the offense. And again, the system book, our QBIQ system book, is a workbook. It makes you go through your offense this way. Now, chapters 2 through 6 is actually the QBIQ concepts. It's the system and how it works, the mental mechanics, the defensive recognition, how to recognize that defense, and then applying the situation, which is my favorite. That is my favorite chapter because there are things that work with a defense, but they're not situationally appropriate, and I should change it before the snap. And ultimately, timing. It tells you how to do footwork per play, per route package. It tells you the 3 goals of the defensive backs, in whether it be man or whether it be zone. And we never want them to ever accomplish goal number 3. And we use a lot of Bill Walsh stuff in there because he was the real innovator of timing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then we get back to chapter 7, RDR verse D, and we're going to get a little taste of that here in just a sec. So this is how it looks in the book. So you've got basically, you go through, you RDR your offense in chapter 1. You read your play 5 times. You draw each play 5 times. You run and visualize your play 5 times. You literally get up, get in your huddle, or get to the line of scrimmage and go through your play call and actually go through your steps or see the ball completed and so forth. That is exactly how I used to do it. So this gives you 15 reps, 3 different ways to attack your brain and to brand it to your brain. So now when you get to chapter 7, you're RDR the offense. You're going to RDR it versus each defense. So now you're going to go RDR each play. So you're going to read each play versus each defense 5 times. You're going to draw each play versus each defense 5 times. Run each play versus defense 5 times. And how many defenses? You have 6 basic defenses. So 6 defenses times 15, that's 90 reps. That's 90 reps of that play, of installing that play into the quarterback's brain. That quarterback is going to understand that play versus each defense with absolute clarity. With absolute clarity. All right, so get a little taste of that. This is what that looks like. They would actually RDR versus, say, cover 2, RDR versus cover 3. And their ability of understanding the defense and what's going to work well with that defense is going to be with absolute clarity. Now, this is the final page of each play. So after they go through RDR versus D of each play, at the end of that play, they're actually going to go to this page where they're going to, and I'm going to tell you something. Once you complete this page, it makes you a machine. It's called final understanding. Absolutely. And there's not a better way to explain it than final understanding, because your play into each defense and each situation, you're going to be sharp like a knife. And here's the way that works. So you draw it in there and you say, okay, cover 2, 1st and 10. What works? And is that a suitable or appropriate play? second and long, totally different situation. So let's say we had trips right, and you had a hitch on the outside. You had number 2 in a post and number 3 running a corner. And you had cover 2, 1st and 10. Well, we're going to be hitting the corner most likely. And is that okay? Probably. Second and long against that corner? Well, I hope not. I would rather throw the hitch on that. The old adage is second and long, throw short, second and short, throw long. And I'll give you guys a quick stat, a stat I love. In 2016, there was 19,105 NFL throws. Over 14,500 of those were under 9 yards. Were under 9 yards. That means over 76% of the time, NFL players are throwing 9 yards or shorter. So that means 23 and some change, 23% of the time to almost 24% are throwing 10 yards and above, not deep, 10 yards and above. And what does that mean? That means your money is made on the shorter routes. So the bottom line is we need to throw short. We don't need to throw long until we get into an advantage down. Okay, so that'd be like a 2nd and 1. That's why you see 2nd and short in a gray area. So bottom line is 1st and 10, we'd be hitting the corner. 2nd and long, I may want to change that up. I may want to change that up to a slant or a stutter slant, you know, a delay slant, like he runs a hitch and then he runs a slant. 2nd and medium, you might want to change it up to something similar to that. 2nd and short, you can throw the corner all day long because you're in an advantage down. 3rd and long, corner. 3rd and short, you know, you might want to change it up. So the bottom line is this gives you, the quarterback, a great idea of what's a good play to run in each situation versus each defense. So is your guy going to be mentally ready? 100%.
The playbook, I can get it down within 2 weeks. A whole new playbook, get it down, and I can go back out on the field. I understand, like, you know, the little details to each play. I can call definitely help me with being able to call changes to a play. You know, if I see a blitz, I can call the little change to a play right then and there instead of having to learn it halfway through summer.
Not the best guy on camera, but I'll tell you, he works his tail off and he gets things. He does know his playbook like a very rare amount do. He does a great job. So basically, what did we cover today? We answered the difference between Fridays and Sundays. And guys, I'm going to tell you something. That is the biggest thing, is anticipation. How do we get our guys to have great anticipation? We answered how to work with the grain of defense. It's the QBIQ concepts. And then we answered how to train your playbook. And that's the system RDR and RDR versus D. So guys, basically, I just want to thank you very much. That's the QBIQ system. This is one of our coaches here. He's a Hall of Famer up in Wisconsin. He's the head coach for University of Wisconsin-Platteville. And he'd love to sit there and say that QBIQ is the best builder for anticipation. Logical, efficient, easy to implement. This expedites the mental process for both coaches and players. And I'm going to tell you something. When your wide receivers are on it, expectation of the window, understanding of how to maneuver and your route to be a key player quick, or if you know you're the guy that needs to expand windows. It's a very vital tool for all your skill positions. All right, guys, so that's been the system. So I'm going to turn this thing back over. I appreciate you guys. All right, so let me end this sh exit. There we go. Turning it back over to you guys.
Perfect. And Coach, we got a couple questions that came through the chat here. So we're just going to fire these away here. So first one is when you're teaching concepts, you know, a lot of offensive coaches have smash, flood, shallow built into their offense. How would you recommend teaching this system, you know, moving forward if you already have those concepts installed into their offense?
All right. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to help them understand fundamentally what routes work. Now, we all understand, you know, offense is done with concepts, and this is what the coaches have to do. Pros understand this. Everybody underneath that do not. They don't understand the QBIQ. If you understand the fundamental steps to the system, there was never an approach that ever taught us this, and so it's a crazy answer for your question, because if I were to answer that, I have to explain the back step to how a pro understands it. These are things that bits and pieces of experience teaches you. It's bits and pieces of things that you pick up. Like, for instance, the most basic, you can't throw an out in the cover 2. Okay.
Yep.
You can't throw a comeback into cover 2. You can't throw a traditional 9 into cover 2 without some serious maneuvering with the safety. So it tells you to work with the grain. So, for instance, if you talk about flood, well, a flood, normally, let's say you have a lazy corner underneath that 9. You have that go route, get the lazy corner underneath it. Well, a corner is not supposed to work against cover 3, but you have a clear out that breaks the concept. That's one of our concept breakers. So it breaks the concept. So it teaches you a more fundamental approach to understanding why that flood package is going to work. So the guy's way ahead of the game. And I'll tell you this, if you give this your quarterback this system and you say, here's the play package, you don't have to teach him the progression. Progressions go, now don't get me wrong, progressions are backbone. They're backbone of understanding, but you do not have to, progressions lose their salt, their need of understanding if they understand QBIQ. I don't have to go check 1, check 2, check 3. I already understand how it should work. So let's say game week comes up, coach says, we're going to run this play. And I get the play and I say, okay, I already understand how it's going to work into every single defense. So that's how it's going to be. The kid's going to think on a very fundamental, professional level of how that route's going to work or how that play package is going to work.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. Just everything you've covered so far, you do. I mean, the system does a great job of teaching a kid what a cover 2 is and explaining it in depth. And I think once you visualize it and see how there's a 2 high safety look and 5 defenders underneath, I think getting up to the line of scrimmage makes it that much easier. And I have a quote here, which I love from your presentation, was every defensive player is within inches of their responsibility post snap, right? So if you can understand that and visualize that, the routes kind of will kind of kill themselves, right? So if you're getting, like you said, an out route into a cover 2, well, there's a defender standing right there. So mentally, it all kind of plays itself. So
exactly.
Another question here, which I'm sure you get a ton too, and I know we talked about on the podcast the other day too. We're talking about rolling coverages. A question that came into, what do you do about rolling coverages if it's a pre-snap read?
So I always, bottom line is it's a fluid thing. Everything's always fluid. We got to have, an understanding of when we see rolling. Now, whenever you see rolling coverages, we have to have a great understanding of defense. And so when I look at defense and I got corners that are balanced, let's say that they're, 7 to 9 yards, inside foot back, skinny foot, and I've got offset. It's not trips. It's not trips. Trips will change that. But it's just, let's say, normal spread, 2 by 2. So, and I got corners that are skinny feet, inside foot back, 7 to 9 yards, and I got safeties that are off level. I already know it's cover 3. It's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. And if the corners are inside footed, inside shade, 7 or 8 yards, and they're the safety is off level, I know it's cover 1. So, and then if I look at it and say, for instance, the corners are off level, and I've got off level safeties. Well, now I know it's cover 6, and no matter what they can roll into, you just gotta. We have another product called Game Prep Steps, and Game Prep Steps helps you understand exactly what you just said. It's a 4-step process to understand defenses that you're facing that week. So what is that defense like to play? What do they look like? How does that defense run that cover 4 that they run? Because not every defense runs cover 4 the same. And not only that, safeties on the same team can a lot of times show different variations themselves, even though they're both in cover 4.
That's great. One last question here before I turn it over to Mike. Question came through about it's Trent Dilfer's QBIQ system. They were just asking about how he was involved, and I want to talk about John Brankus too, who was also involved as well. So if you don't mind just giving like a quick recap of how all those guys got involved with
Absolutely.
the QBIQ system.
Well, the bottom line is, as soon as they heard it, when you hear about a Super Bowl winning quarterback and a guy that basically is QB Mecca for the analysis of the quarterback, Elite 11, QB Epic, which is, it's next week in Nashville, by the way. For all you quarterbacks, you need to get there. We'll be there teaching the Trent Dilfer QBIQ system. But bottom line is, they heard about the QBIQ system, started doing some research, and they knew it's going to change the process of the quarterback in the nation forever. If your quarterback's not on this, he will simply be behind fundamentally. I guarantee that, because this is the gap of what's missing in the process of a quarterback to develop. And now it's here. So they saw that, and John Brinkus reached out. He said, listen, we want to talk and see about how we can be major partners in this. And for you guys who don't know, John Brinkus you remember ESPN and the Sports Science Show? It's that guy. And what's great is he's going to bring a lot of the science to the approach. And when we start talking about statistical decisions and why this system works so effectively, he's going to start getting the nuts and crannies of the numbers and the statistics of how it works so accurately.
Awesome. Mike, what do you got?
So, Coach, can you go and explain a little more of the RDR system, starting with the read part? So what do you have? How do you teach it? Do you have the quarterbacks, what they read the play, then read each individual route, or?
Gotcha. So let's say I just have a play. It could be hitches. So I've got, 2x2 spread look, and it's simply just a hitch. Hitch all the way across the board. All it is okay. And let's say your formation call normal is a right formation for that, whatever. So it's spread right. So I got my running back over here, and we got our Y and our Z on this side, and our X and our H over here. And so anyway, all I would do is I would sit there and actually read that 5 times. I would say, okay, so I've got X, so it's right, spread right, hitch on one-on-one, whatever everybody calls that. Might call it 30 for quick game protection, and it's a 0 route, right? So 30. So I'm gonna sit there and say, my X is on the line, my H is off, my Z is off, my Y is off, my Z is on, and my running back's right beside me. Okay, all right. So I read that, and then I'm going to sit there and say, okay, everybody's got hitches, and I'm going to pick. We're not versing a defense, but I would fan inside out to hit whatever receiver I'm going to hit, and so I would read that 5 times, and then I would actually go to the draw part. There's boxes in the system book. The system book likes this, right? It looks like this. And in the back, you would just draw it 5 times. There's 5 boxes. You would simply draw it 5 times. So now I've used my eyes to connect to my brain to read it. Now I'm using pencil to paper, the old-fashioned way. All us old coaches love the old-fashioned way. I know. And so we would sit there and actually physically draw it 5 times. And then I would actually literally on the run it part. So RDR, the run it part, I would literally get in the huddle for a huddle team. I'd say, okay, spread right, 30 on one-on-one, ready to break, and go to the line of scrimmage, go through my check system. I'd say X on, H off, Y's off, Z's on, running back right beside, said hut, and then I go, fan and see myself make that throw.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the RDR works.
Right. And I know you just mentioned protections a little. How do you guys teach that? How do you teach offensive line protections for as far as from the quarterback position?
Understood. A lot of times protection is not a part of the quarterback's set.
Yeah.
So that what we did is we took a 101 approach. We are coming through. We have an offensive line or a box play, we're calling it, a box playbook coming out. And it's going to be from the reads, the techniques, understanding what the fronts look like, giving them name calls or the most common name call to them. And then we're actually going to talk about slide, zone, all the different types of combos, chips, climbs, all the different types of blocking schemes that a quarterback can be involved with and the advantages to that.
Right. Okay.
So that they can be, accurate callers. Because there's a lot of quarterbacks that coaches give, those keys to the car to the guys. Say, hey, I want you to be able to, we're going to call our slide protection to the blitz, or this week we're going away, whatever, so the quarterback is assigned with that responsibility. So we're coming out with that book shortly.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good stuff. And then I had another question too. So with a lot of offenses, they base their routes on open grass concepts. Can you talk a little more about how the QBIQ system can work with this, where sometimes with the QBIQ system, a route may not look great pre-snap, but post-snap it'll be good. It'll look good as far as getting into open space.
All right, so it's got it drawn out. All the green is good. Green is good, boys. and the defensive guys where they are is bad. My guy said, my coach used to tell me, throw it where they ain't.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so that was his throw to grass concept. Throw it where they ain't. I think everybody's always used throw to grass. And so in the zones, in the defenses, it's drawn out pretty clear of where we want to afflict pain. Plus, at the same time, the route tree is in the book. And the green zones of where the route tree is drawn out, those are explicit. Those are right to the yard markers that the ball should be thrown. Now, obviously, there's window throws, right? The windows can change and slide a little bit. And we named that as well. But it's drawn in there to where, all right, if that green where that route is supposed to be thrown matches to where your green is on the book or on the defense, we're good.
Yep. Awesome. Is that the last one, Wake?
I actually got one more.
All right, yeah, fire away.
So I know you mentioned some of the ways you like to get defenses to show what they're in pre-snap is with the snap count, of course, and the rhythm. Are there any other ways that you like to get defenses to show what they're in?
Well, can you say the first part of that was in terms of the snap rhythm? Did he give a couple examples?
Well, no. This is just my question off of how you mentioned how you like to get defenses to show what they're in pre-snap with a count. Gotcha.
So a couple different ways. One thing I used to do in college, I would learn what the box play, like if I was messing with the box and trying to call, I had to call the defense, for the line to be able to block. So what I would do is I would learn what their call is. Like if they would say the word slide, I would actually go to line of scrimmage and I would give out a dummy number call, like, blue 40. And then I'd go slide and I'd call their call, have them move, and then I'd call the front call, then give my guys even 40, even if it was a 4-3, even, defense. That's how I would handle that. But in terms of getting, everybody to form, including the DBs, what I would do with those guys is, if it's a tougher play, I would just go with a longer snap count. I might say it on 2 or on 3, or might go with a dummy first set of calls. And, and dummy first set for us might have been, an animal call, like lion 45, right? It's just different plays, longer snap counts, longer snap rhythms to get guys to show. And my suggestion to all the coaches out there, have like a 2-day stretch in camp, not in game week prep. In camp, go 2 weeks that you cannot call the offense on 1. Go 2 days where you just got to go on 2 or on 3 and make your guys hold their water and really get used to those extended snap counts.
Yeah, I like that. It's one of the hardest things to do, especially from the younger level too, is to have that discipline to stay on side.
No doubt. Hey, guys, can I introduce a guy real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to non-earphones. Hey, guys, real quick, this is a guy I've had for a long, long time. This is Evan Conley. He's a Louisville quarterback at University of Louisville. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're just not in the area. I've had this guy forever. He played at Kell High School, and he's been starting all 4 years in high school, and he just went out to Louisville. I just want to tell you a great story about this guy. This guy he got a number of offers, but no big-time offers, and he was going to Appalachian State. It was a great situation. Coaches loved him, got to know him. And because you're looking at probably the hardest worker. Great QBIQ, by the way. This guy's QBIQ is out of sight. Tell him how you used to keep me on my toes. Like game week. Chris, are we working this week? What time are we at?
Yeah, I always checking in, making sure that I'm getting my time in with him for the prep, because that was a huge difference maker.
So, and he's talking about the game prep steps that we do before every game week. And this guy's work ethic was amazing. Anyway, bottom line, quick story is that Appalachian State coaches got hired when Petrino left from Louisville. And just think about this guy. I'm going to say this. Are you growing to 6'2" yet? Or are we still 6'1"?
Still 6'1".
So he's 6'1", and listen.
No shoes on, though. No shoes.
I know. And so you got to understand, those big schools, what they do is they type in numbers and they say, hey, we don't want a quarterback less than 6'3". They got to run a certain 40. And if you don't hit that sheet, you simply don't get recruited. So he wasn't on a lot of those sheets. And so here's the bottom line. Appalachian State guys get the job over there. Not only are they going to a bigger school, but the bottom line is this guy, think about how much they had to believe in him when they got that job. And they said, we're bringing this 6'1" guy with us. They got a chance to meet him and understand his work ethic, how hard he works, what a good person he is. And guys, the important thing is your work ethic is everything. And obviously working on your skill and your craft constantly. And that's something he's done consistently. And you're talking about probably the best QBIQ guy. Casey Conway's up there too, though. But you're talking about QBIQ concepts big time with this guy. Anyway, Evan, thanks, bud. I just want to say that.
Awesome. Yeah, we wish him the best of luck too. That's such a great story, especially if he continues to work hard and only good things can happen for him too. So what year is he going into, Coach?
Well, he just completed his first spring, so he was an early graduate.
Early grad, okay.
He hasn't had a season yet, but he's just now going into he's still a freshman.
Yeah.
Still a frosh. Still having to carry the bags and the equipment.
We wish him the best of luck. Coach, thank you again for this. You can find Coach at QBIQ System on Twitter, also QBIQsystem.com. They have the flashcards, the whole entire system there that you can purchase literally right now as we speak. So, Coach, any last words before we get off here?
Guys, I mean, I appreciate you guys. As we met the other day, I was like, man, you guys talk my same language. You fire about football, and I love it. We're OCD down here. You guys are OCD up there. By the way, I just figured out we're doing a camp in Rhode Island and in Massachusetts, mid-July. I'll tell you more about it here shortly. But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Perfect. We'll be there, Coach. Once again, I'm Chris Haddad. We have Mike Pina on as well. We'll be back next week for another clinic. See you then.